The poison is already inside you. It doesn't matter how it got there. Bad water, contaminated food, a medication miscalculation, something you foraged that turned out to be the wrong plant entirely. What matters is that your body is absorbing it right now, and the window to stop that absorption is measured in minutes, not hours. In a world with functioning emergency rooms, you call poison control and wait for the ambulance. In a world without them, you need activated charcoal, and you need it fast. Here's the problem. Activated charcoal is one of the most powerful emergency medical tools in existence, used in hospitals worldwide as a first-line treatment for poisoning and overdose. It is also one of the most misunderstood, most underestimated, and most overlooked items in the survival pharmacopoeia. People stock antibiotics, painkillers, wound dressings. Almost nobody stocks activated charcoal, and almost nobody knows that if their supply runs out, they can make more from scratch using nothing but wood, fire, and a process that has been used for water purification and medical treatment for over 3,000 years. You are going to learn that process today. All of it. The chemistry, the method, and the applications that might make the difference between surviving a contamination event and becoming a casualty of one. First, let's understand what activated charcoal actually is. Because regular charcoal and activated charcoal are not the same thing, and the difference is not trivial. Regular charcoal, the kind in your grill, the kind you've been making in campfires your whole life, is carbon. Mostly, it is wood that has been burned in a low-oxygen environment, driving off the water, gases, and volatile compounds until what remains is a relatively pure carbon structure. It has some adsorptive properties. It will filter water to a degree. But in medical terms, it is largely ineffective. Why? Because the surface area is too small. Here is the key concept: adsorption. Not absorption. Adsorption with a D. Absorption is when a material soaks something up, like a sponge taking in water. Adsorption is a surface phenomenon. Molecules of a substance bind chemically to the surface of the adsorbent material. Activated charcoal works not because it soaks up toxins, but because toxins bind to its surface as they pass through the digestive system, and then leave the body with the charcoal when it is excreted. The critical variable is surface area. A single gram of activated charcoal, properly processed, can have a surface area of up to 3,000 square meters. For reference, that is roughly half a football field packed into a quantity of powder you could hold between two fingers. That enormous surface area is what makes it so extraordinarily effective at capturing toxin molecules. The activation process is what creates that surface area by opening up millions of microscopic pores in the carbon structure. So your goal is not just to make charcoal. Your goal is to make charcoal and then activate it. Let's start from the beginning. Step 1. Choose your wood. Not all wood produces equally effective charcoal. You want hardwoods with dense, consistent grain? Oak is excellent. Maple, hickory, birch, willow, coconut shell if you're in the right climate. Willow in particular has a long historical association with medicinal charcoal use, and modern analysis confirms it produces a highly porous carbon structure well suited to activation. Avoid resinous softwoods, pine, cedar, fir. The resins introduce compounds that interfere with the final product's adsorptive capacity and can introduce their own toxicity concerns into a substance you are planning to give to someone who is already poisoned. Avoid any wood that has been treated, painted, stained, or chemically preserved. You are making medicine. Start with clean material. Your wood should be dry. Green wood can be used, but introduces steam into the process that complicates your burn control. Dry hardwood, split into pieces roughly the size of your fist, is your ideal feedstock. Step 2. Build your retort. A retort is a sealed or semi-sealed container in which your wood will be heated in a low-oxygen environment. This is the foundational principle of charcoal making. You are not burning the wood to ash. You are cooking it in the absence of sufficient oxygen to combust fully, driving off everything that is not carbon. In a primitive field setting, the simplest retort is a metal can with a tight-fitting lid and a small hole punched in the lid. A paint can works. A coffee can works. A steel ammo can works. The hole in the lid allows gases to escape as the wood pyrolyzes. If you seal it completely, pressure builds, and now you have added an explosion to your list of problems. The hole should be small, roughly the diameter of a pencil, just enough to let gas out, without letting significant air in. Pack your wood pieces tightly into the can. The tighter the pack, the less airspace inside, the more controlled your oxygen environment. Put the lid on firmly. Place the can in or directly above a hot fire, not on the edge, in the fire or as close to it as you can manage with the tools available. Within several minutes you will see smoke and gas beginning to vent from the hole in the lid. This is correct. This is the volatile compounds leaving the wood under heat. At some point, that gas will ignite at the hole, producing a small steady flame. This is also correct. You are watching pyrolysis in action. The wood is breaking down thermally, and the byproduct gases are combustible. Maintain the fire beneath your can for 45 minutes to an hour. The venting flame will eventually diminish and go out. This signals that the volatile compounds have been largely driven off, and what remains in the can is primarily carbon. Do not open the can yet. Remove it from the heat and allow it to cool completely, ideally an hour or more, before opening. If you open it while hot and expose the contents to air, the carbon will ignite. You will watch your work turn to ash in real time. Wait. Patience here is not optional. When you open the can, you should find your wood pieces transformed, black, lightweight, maintaining their original shape, fragile at the edges, but structure intact. This is your charcoal. It will have some adsorptive properties as is, but you are not done. Step 3. Activation. This is where the process diverges from simple charcoal production and where the real medicinal value is created. Activation requires introducing a chemical agent that will open the pore structure of your charcoal, dramatically increasing its surface area. In industrial production, this is done with steam or with chemical activating agents like zinc chloride or phosphoric acid under precise conditions. In a field setting, you are going to use what you have. The most accessible activating agent in a survival scenario is calcium chloride, commonly sold as a de-icing product or as a food-grade pickling additive. The other option, more universally available, is simple lemon juice or another acidic solution, citric acid, vinegar, even dilute wood ash lye. These are less effective than industrial methods but measurably improve the product over non-activated charcoal. Here is the process. Take your cooled charcoal and grind it. Use a rock against a flat surface, a mortar and pestle if you have 1, 2 hard flat stones if you don't. You want a coarse powder, not a fine dust at this stage. Grind enough that the pieces are broken open, exposing interior surfaces to the activating agent. Place your ground charcoal in a non-reactive container, ceramic, glass, stainless steel. Mix your activating solution. If using calcium chloride, dissolve it in water to a roughly 25% concentration. If using lemon juice or vinegar, use it undiluted or at high concentration. Pour enough solution over the charcoal to fully saturate it. Stir it through. You want every particle coated and wetted. Allow it to soak for a minimum of 12 hours. 24 is better. The acid or salt is migrating into the pore structure of the carbon, chemically etching the interior surfaces and opening new micropores that did not exist before. After soaking, rinse your charcoal thoroughly. This step is critical if you used a chemical activating agent rather than a food-safe acid. You are washing out the activating compound, leaving the open pore structure behind. Use clean water, multiple rinses, until the rinse water runs clear and neutral. Now you must dry and reheat. Spread your rinsed activated charcoal on a clean surface and allow it to dry. Then heat it again, either in your oven, if you have one, at roughly 250 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, or carefully over a low fire in an open container. This final heating drives out the remaining moisture and any residual activating compound, and it finalizes the pore structure. Do not let it get hot enough to ignite. You are drying and setting, not recharring. 20 to 30 minutes at low heat is sufficient. Allow it to cool. Grind it now to your final consistency. For water filtration, a coarse grind is acceptable. For medicinal use, for ingestion in a poisoning scenario, you want a fine powder. As fine as you can achieve, the finer the powder, the greater the exposed surface area per gram of material, and the more effective the dose. Store it sealed, away from moisture and strong odors. Activated charcoal adsorbs indiscriminately. It will pull contaminants from the air just as readily as from your digestive system, which means a jar left open in a smoky environment is a jar of charcoal losing its effectiveness in real time. Seal it, label it, store it somewhere cool and dry. Now let's talk about how to use it, because making it correctly and using it incorrectly is still a losing outcome. For water filtration, pack activated charcoal into a filtration column. A tube, a bottle with holes punched in the bottom, a layered cloth system. Water passing through the charcoal layer will have heavy metals, chlorine, many organic compounds, and some biological toxins removed. It will not remove all pathogens. Charcoal filtration should be combined with boiling or another disinfection method, not substituted for it. Charcoal handles chemical contamination. Heat handles biological contamination. Together they give you genuinely clean water. For poisoning, the standard medical dose of activated charcoal is 1 gram per kilogram of body weight. For an adult of average size, that is roughly 50 to 75 grams. Mix it with water to form a slurry. It will not dissolve, it will suspend, and drink it as quickly as possible. The sooner after ingestion of the toxin, the more effective it will be. After 2 hours, much of the toxin may have already been absorbed by the intestinal lining, and charcoal will have limited effect. This is a first response tool, not a delayed treatment. Critical contraindications: do not give activated charcoal to someone who is unconscious or who cannot swallow safely. Aspiration of charcoal into the lungs is a serious complication. Do not use it for poisoning from corrosive substances, strong acids, strong alkalis, because it does not absorb these effectively, and the situation requires different management. Do not use it for alcohol poisoning, where it also has limited effectiveness. For wound care, activated charcoal has demonstrated antimicrobial properties and has been used historically in wound dressings to adsorb toxins produced by bacteria. Charcoal wound dressings are still used in modern medicine for infected or malodorous wounds. In a field setting, a charcoal poultice applied to an infected wound and changed regularly can help manage bacterial toxin load while other treatments are applied. The Romans used it for water purification. Medieval physicians used it for digestive ailments. 19th century chemists documented its extraordinary absorptive capacity in experiments that are still cited today. Emergency rooms around the world use pharmaceutical-grade activated charcoal every single day. And you can make a functional version of it with a metal can, a fire, some hardwood, and a bottle of lemon juice. The knowledge gap between what we used to know and what we know now is not filled with better information, it is filled with convenience. We stopped learning these things because we stopped needing them. The supply chain provided, the emergency room provided, the emergency room provided. The question is what you do when it doesn't. The answer, increasingly, is that you either know how to provide for yourself or you don't. There is no middle position when the trucks stop running, and the hospital is dark and something has gotten into the water supply, and you are the one your family is looking at for an answer. Make the charcoal, activate it, store it. Know how to use it, because the emergency that requires it won't announce itself in advance.